Hi, my name is Scott from the Economics Tutoring Center, and today we're going to be doing some examples of real and nominal GDP. So please make sure to check my notation and language use with your professor because it may vary. So if you look up here on the board, we have a chart and it tells us, so we have three different years, 2011, 2012, and 2013. 2011 is our base year, and I'll say what that means in a minute or so, but for each year we have prices and quantities of two different goods. So we just call them goods A and B. So for example, like in 2012, the price of good A is $31. That's how you read this chart. And we can use this to answer some questions about GDP. So our first question will be, what was nominal GDP in 2011? So, first of all, GDP is a measure of total output of a country, and I guess in this problem we're going to be assuming that goods A and B are the only two goods in whatever country this is. So, for nominal GDP in 2011, we only have to look at 2011. So, whenever you have nominal GDP, you only focus on that 1 year. And it equals, so nominal GDP is, you sum up the prices times the quantities for each good. So this just means you add these together for each good. So if we look at 2011, for good A, the price was 30, and we multiply that by 900 quantity. And then for good B, we had a price of 100. We multiply that by quantity of 192. So this, if you calculate it out, it expands to 27,000 plus 19,200. And our final answer for nominal GDP in 2011 is 46,200. So you could do the same thing for 2012 and 2013. All you do is for every good in the economy, you multiply the price by the quantity. So you do that for each good, and then you add those results up. That's your nominal GDP. So now we have another question we can ask using this chart. Let's say instead we want to find the real GDP in 2012. And whenever you, in economics, whenever you hear the word real versus nominal, real is, it tries to get rid of that factor. And to do that, to calculate real GDP, you need to pick a base year. And all that means is you're going to use the prices from that base year, and you're going to fix those prices across all years. Then when you're calculating GDP, it will only be really a measure of quantity, how much your quantity produced has grown. And that's a more real measure of the economy's output. So real GDP then, it's a very similar formula to nominal GDP. You're still adding price times quantity for each good, but with one change. You use the prices from the base year. So I just put this BY here to mean base year. So that means for 2012, we take, so first we're going to do good A. We take the prices from the base year, which is 2011, and that was $30 for good A. We multiply that by the quantity from 2012 for good A, and that was 1,000. Now we do the same thing for good B and add that together. So the price in the base year, 2011, was 100. And then the quantity produced in 2012 of good B was 200. So if you put these in your calculator, multiply them out, you get 30,000 plus 20,000, and our final answer for real GDP in 2012 is $50,000. So one thing to note here is that whenever you're doing real GDP for the base year, it will always be the same as nominal GDP for that year. And that's because when you're doing real GDP, you use the prices from the base year, but those are just the same prices because if you're doing real GDP for that base year. And then if we wanted to do the same thing for 2013, it'd be really similar. We just multiply the prices still from 2011, because that's still our base year, and we multiply that by the quantities in 2013. So now we have one last question, and this one's a little more involved than the previous two. What was the GDP deflator in 2013? And first of all, GDP deflator, it does two things. It allows you to convert easily between real and nominal GDP, and it also gives you sort of a measure of inflation. So the formula, how you calculate it is you take your nominal GDP for whatever year you're looking at, you divide by the real GDP, and you multiply by 100. The reason this sort of tells you about inflation is because nominal GDP uses the prices in the current year, real GDP uses the prices in the base year, so it kind of gives you a ratio of those prices a little bit. And in that sense, it's like inflation. So if we want to do this for 2013, first of all, we calculate the nominal GDP just like we did before, but we want to use 2013. So we use prices and quantities only in 2013. We did that previously, so I'm just going to provide the answer, but again, you just do this times this, and then add this times this. And that would give you, if you do that in your calculator, you will get 58,300. And then to do real GDP, also we did an example, so I'm just going to give the answer, but you would take the prices in the base year, so 2011, you do this times 2013 quantity, and then add this price times the 2013 quantity for good B. And you will find that real GDP in 2013 is 52,000. So note that the nominal GDP is higher than the real GDP in 2013. The reason is because if you look at these prices, so for good B, the prices are the same between those 2 years, 2013 and the base year. But good A, the price went up pretty significantly from the base year to 2013. And that's what caused this nominal GDP to be higher than real GDP. So if you multiply that by 100, your final answer for the GDP deflator is about 112.1. And that tells you that the nominal GDP is about 12% higher than real GDP in 2013. It's kind of an approximation saying there's about 12% inflation from 2011 to 2013. So those are just a few examples of how to work with real and nominal GDP. I hope it helped, and if you have any more questions, just come into the tutoring center or ask your professor.